as a Democrat exposed the reality of Vice President Kamala Harris's polling numbers. At this very moment, the narrative has just been switched. In fact, someone that literally hasn't seen very much airtime since the start of her campaign to a presumptive nominee for president. I mean, we're now being bombarded every single day that Kamala Harris is closing the gap with Donald Trump and that it's only a matter of time until she gets the numbers in her favor. Can you believe this, guys? Harris on her end has shown confidence and is now saying that she's ready to go head to head with Donald Trump if that's what needs to happen. In fact, she's even calling him out. Kamala Harris is calling out Donald Trump recently for backpedaling on their September 10th debate. Now, do you guys think that Donald Trump backpedaled on the debate? Let me know in the comments down below, yes or no, just a Y or an N for no. Anyway, the problem here is that Kamala Harris basically wasn't even part of the plan. That debate was actually prepared for Donald Trump and former presidential, or the debate was actually prepared for Donald Trump and former Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris. But now Harris is coming out arguing that Donald Trump has already agreed to their debate. Now, again, she's referring to it as if she was already the presidential nominee of her party. Now, Donald Trump's campaign directors, Donald Trump's campaign communication director, Stephen Chang, he says it's completely inappropriate to schedule anything with Kamala Harris because it's still possible that she ends up getting replaced between now and then. We could actually see part 2 of the Democratic coup taking place. Now, again, it's now looking a lot more positive for Harris, given that even Barack Obama and Michelle Obama have finally gotten around to giving their endorsement. Although it took more than a hot minute for them to finally bless her with this, right? And so this means that it's now more likely that Harris will face Donald Trump in the upcoming election. And while a lot of Democrats are actually kind of celebrating the idea, there are those who are firmly grasping to the truth. In fact, there is a liberal who comes out and literally puts Kamala Harris on blast. We're going to talk about that later in today's video. We're actually going to share that. All of this excitement and optimism may suddenly go away for Kamala Harris once they see how bad Camel Toe Harris performs in this debate. But here's James Carville and what he had to say on MSNBC. Take a listen here.
Yeah. James Carville, you were out on a cruise ship that didn't stop you from talking sometimes to interviewers, and according to the New York Times, working the phones because you are part of the leadership and the emeritus number of campaign experts in the Democratic Party. Now, as you know, James, there's an old saying, you don't always have to be on the cruise ship to see how choppy the water is. I don't know if you know that saying.
I know it now. It's very safe.
The water was choppy. Now it seems in all measurable ways, from buzz to the polling we just mentioned, and I'll show more about in a minute, to fundraising, to have a lot of smoother sailing. Your thoughts first, big picture.
Well, I hate to do this, but I got to be the curmudgeon. I have to be the skunk at the garden party. This is too triumphalist, okay? This is everybody's giddy. I look at the coverage and it's great, and if I had to write a play about what I think it's going to be like, it would be entitled The Ice Pick Cometh, okay? Get ready, they're coming, all right? And it's good, everybody should feel good and liberated and everything else. But if we don't win the election, we hadn't done anything. We haven't changed the temperature in America, we haven't changed anything. And I think the vice president, I hope that, her campaign is getting ready. I hope they'll listen to my friend and fellow New Orleanian, Don Brazil, who actually, I think, has the same kind of view of politics that I do. And they're coming at us, and they're going to keep coming. And this kind of giddy elation is not going to be very helpful much longer, because that's not what we're going to be faced with. And I think the vice president, put it in athletic terms, needs a really good cut man in a corner, because she's getting ready to get cut.
Whoa.
That's right.
Let me show you the polling.
Whoa. Democrats are literally coming out and telling the truth here, putting Kamala Harris on blast and exposing the truth. I mean, this liberal has literally admitted the cold, hard reality that Kamala Harris and likely very well the entire Democratic Party could be faced with in just a couple of months here.
No, we welcome all. We welcome all views, all points, and I know you're a practitioner of the game, so you know when the game has 15 weeks, 100 days left, and what you're up against. You don't want too much celebrating to extend your sports analogies. You don't want to celebrate before you're in the end zone. I think people get that, even if they are feeling very different than they did last week. Very early. Francesca is absolutely. Go ahead, and then I'll show you the polls. Go ahead.
No. I was finished. Go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, well, Francesca's right. It's very early to judge any polling because it's all new information. It's all going to take a while to shake out. But to the extent that we learn anything from these state polls, she's already doing better than Biden was if they're both somewhat known quantities.
So let's talk about this for a second, right? And this is what Democrats, especially left-leaning media news outlets, are not receptive of, right? So that it's highly plausible that this excitement that surrounds Kamala Harris is just going to die out. It's like we're looking at her political 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, right? But once this time is over, people will probably just kind of go back to realizing just how much she's done during her term as VP, or how little she's done during her term as VP. Has she done anything in her term? Because she really hasn't been attacked as much when it comes to her policies, because she's inheriting those policies from Joe Biden. In fact, Kamala Harris really doesn't have much to show for as the border crisis just hasn't gotten any better with her in charge. There's also the matter of her helping cover up President Joe Biden's health decline from the American public. You can bet that Donald Trump's going to attack her with that fact. A recent poll shows that 90% of voters believe that Kamala Harris is to blame for the cover-up of President Biden's mental decline. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, since we're live, by the way, if you haven't already, hit the like button for the video. Also, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I want to ask you guys, since we're live, do you think Kamala Harris played a role in hiding Joe Biden's mental decline to the American people? Just type a Y for yes or an N for no. I want to hear from you guys. So a YouGov Times of London poll found 9 out of 10 voters believe that VP Kamala Harris was very much so aware about the progressive deterioration of the president. In fact, this is a fact that even mainstream media could not deny, which ended up leading left-leaning news outlets like CNN and MSNBC criticizing President Biden for this problem. And I see a lot of you guys saying yes in the comments. I want to see more participation out of you guys. Let me know. Type a yes in the comments, type a Y in the comments if you think Kamala Harris played a role in hiding Joe Biden's mental cognitive decline from the American people. Type an N if you disagree. But yeah, so, and here's another thing. This was also confirmed by FBI Director Christopher Wray. Vice President Kamala Harris was most times involved in meetings with the president. So what happens when Donald Trump ends up questioning Kamala Harris about not informing the American people about what's happening behind closed doors, right? That's what I want to know, because it's going to happen.
Okay, earlier this week, we brought you the news of how on Sunday night, after President Biden dropped out of the race, the activist group Win with Black Women literally almost broke Zoom, organizing a call with 44,000 people to make sure Kamala Harris wins the White House this November. In 24 hours, that one Zoom call raised more than $1.5 million for the Harris campaign. And at 44,000 people, the call was only about 1,000 people short of the world record for the biggest Zoom call ever. Now, the world record held for another 4 days, but it was broken last night.
Wow. And much like the liberal Democrat that we just heard from saying, hey, don't celebrate too soon, Kamala Harris, because they're about to take your legs out. It looks like Kamala Harris's breaking of the Zoom, breaking of the internet record, world record, has been destroyed only 4 days after having achieved it. So it's kind of like another one of those, you're celebrating now, but you might be celebrating too soon kind of situations. And here's something that we need to realize. All of the glazing that she's been given ever since she took the spot from President Joe Biden, not much has really happened in terms of polling. And that's what really matters. And this is what the liberal Democrat that we just heard from, James Carver, just pointed out on MSNBC. Look at the numbers in the battleground states. I mean, Donald Trump has widened the gap in Wisconsin. He's widened the gap in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. I mean, the only state that Kamala Harris has actually gained is Virginia, and she's only got like a 2.6% advantage there. But according to her campaign, things are just getting started. But that's not what we're seeing. That's not what we're seeing, and that's really not what we're hearing from Democratic liberal strategists, like admitting what's really happening here. In fact, the Harris campaign's communications director, Michael Tyler, says that Harris has been a candidate for less than a week, but she's bringing in a lot of money. Okay. According to him, she's already coalesced the entire Democratic Party around her campaign, and the organic grassroots enthusiasm is producing results. Since President Joe Biden dropped out, it's said that Harris's campaign has raised around $200 million in donations. Now, here's the question. Are people donating because Harris is now probably their presumptive nominee, or are they pouring in money because Joe Biden's gone and they're just happy to see him gone? Let me know if y'all think there's money coming in because they're happy to see Kamala Harris take the lead here, or do you think that these donations are coming in because they're just so happy to see Biden get the heck out? Type in Kamala if you think it's her. Type in Biden if you think it's him causing this money to come in. Because I don't know. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but several big-time Democratic donors froze around $90 million in donations if Biden was still the nominee. Do you guys remember this? Literally, I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing, but basically the money stopped coming in. And that's when Democrats panicked. They were panicking because the money wasn't coming in anymore. Democratic donors, big, wealthy Democratic donors froze $90 million roundabout in donations if Joe Biden was going to remain the nominee. So they had to do something. They panicked. They had to do something, right? So what did Biden do? He essentially did a Hail Mary play. And what happened 24 hours after President Biden announced the cancellation of his campaign? Well, it was said that Harris raked in more than $100 million in donations. So my question for you, yes or no, does this sound like a coincidence to you? Now, you already know how I feel about coincidences. I don't believe in them, okay? So, so basically, it looks like all of this money that was sitting on the sidelines, all of these wealthy Democratic donors that were unwilling to continue to put any more money behind Joe Biden's losing campaign said, hey, all right, well, we were planning on donating this money anyway. Now that Biden has dropped out, all right, fine. We'll go ahead and give it to Harris, right? And the polls with Biden were so bad that they're now celebrating the smallest bumps to Harris's numbers. If that doesn't show panic and desperation, I don't know what does. News Nation's Nick Smith said that the momentum is clearly shifting and it's favoring the Democratic Party at this point. In fact, he showed polls where Kamala Harris was trailing Donald Trump in many different states. The Hill Emerson College poll showed that Donald Trump led her in Arizona 49% to 44%. Donald Trump also led in Pennsylvania 48% to 46%. Trump leads Kamala in Michigan 46 to 45%. And in Wisconsin, it's become almost a tie. So it's almost the same numbers that I gave you guys a second ago, because the difference is that they're making this sound like a win for Harris. Her gaining like 1 inch is being hailed as her flipping the switch because Joe Biden was getting smashed up in these states. Now, Could this all change by the time they have their debate? I mean, that is if Harris is still the presumptive nominee at the time. That's my question for you guys. Like, what do you guys think about that? Like, do you guys think that this hype is all over? Is it short-lived, or is Kamala Harris, is Camel Toe Harris really about to downshift and essentially like hit second gear and really start moving forward? Or does Donald Trump have it in the bag? If you think Donald Trump has it in the bag, type in Trump. If you think Kamala Harris could literally take the election, type in camel toe. So let me know in the comments, guys. I want to hear from you guys. Let's see. Pete Buttigieg comes out talking about some extraordinary energy surrounding Kamala Harris. I keep calling her camel toe. This is actually pretty big news, guys. This is actually huge. So let's hear from Buttigieg real quick. Let's hear.
Now joining us, also fresh off the campaign trail, Pete Buttigieg. He's appearing today in his personal capacity, so no disrespect that we aren't using your cabinet title, but you are here as Pete today. Okay, so you've been on the trail. A week ago, we were doing the show. President Biden was still in the race. We now have a presumptive new nominee. But less than a week later, Bret Stephens is writing this in the New York Times saying, the one thing the Democratic Party is not supposed to be is anti-democratic, a party in which insiders select the nominee from the top down, not the bottom up, and which expects the rank and file to fall in line and clap enthusiastically. That's the playbook of ruling parties in autocratic states. You know the optics of this, that it was donors who pulled the plug on President Biden, and they're the ones calling the shots about how this proceeds.
Well, it's true that the Democratic Party is not famous for falling in line. That's part of why it's so remarkable that in a matter of days, Kamala Harris has consolidated our big tent party. And this is something that is coming from the ground up. You can feel it. I was in a field office in Michigan yesterday, close to our home, and saw an extraordinary energy. So many people from different corners of our party ready to support Kamala Harris, ready for her to defeat Donald Trump. And it's a level of energy that, frankly, I haven't seen on the campaign trail in a long time.
You actually have gotten more delegates, though, than she has. I mean, when you ran back in 2020, you accrued them. She didn't get any delegates. She dropped out of that race. Former staffer of hers says she worries about this coronation. She wrote about it.
Call them out. Tell them the truth. Let's go.
In the Atlantic, saying she wasn't tested and tried. Are you worried about it? Because Bret Stephens also says this. He says she's unpopular. She's been a bad campaigner. She's been a bad manager. She's a blue state Dem who's got to win purple states. She's anchored to the president's record. He worries that, maybe Democrats should be more worried that there hasn't been a thorough vetting. So when she gets into this head-to-head with President Trump, there will be wishes that she had been vetted.
The idea that somebody hasn't been tested or vetted when they have been Vice President of the United States for nearly 4 years just doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, Pete Buttigieg. What has Kamala Harris actually done as vice president for the last 3.5 years? I mean, you're trying to make Pete Buttigieg is trying to make the argument that Kamala Harris is somehow already vetted. But can you guys? We're live. I don't know how many people we got in this live. Can you guys just comment down below, yes or no, if you can name one thing Kamala Harris has done as vice president? If you can come up with at least one thing, comment why. If you can't come up with one thing that Kamala Harris has done in the last 3.5 years as vice president, just comment in for no. I mean, this is complete bull. Everyone in the world knows Kamala has done nothing. She's sat up in the Oval Office collecting a check, and she's been completely invisible, until like the last 2 weeks, basically.
In obviously one of the most visible leadership roles in the country. And she's demonstrated both her effectiveness in that.
Do y'all think Pete Buttigieg is lying to us right now? He's saying that Kamala Harris has been in the most visible role in the United States government. Let's hear this one more time. Listen to him, because let me know if y'all think he's lying, because I don't buy what he's telling me right now.
That are vetted when they have been Vice President of the United States for nearly 4 years just doesn't make any sense. She is in obviously one of the most visible leadership roles in the country. And
Kamala Harris, according to Pete Buttigieg, is in the most visible leadership roles in the country. Y'all heard him. Do you agree? Please let me know, guys.
she's demonstrated both her effectiveness in that job and a vision for the country that Americans agree with. And that's the real reason I think she's going to win, is that most Americans already agree with her on the issues that they care about the most, that affect them the most, whether we're talking.
Do you guys agree with Kamala Harris? This guy is blowing so much smoke up our butts right now. The gaslighting is just, this is like record-breaking, internet-breaking level gaslighting that I haven't seen in a long time.
Talking about choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states, to be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, I mean, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
But even before the pandemic,
and international.
even before the pandemic, America.
Oh boy, it's getting heated now.
Went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep two promises. He kept...
Do you think Donald Trump is responsible for the January 6th situation? Yes or no, guys? And I mean, because you got Pete Buttigieg basically blaming Trump for that whole situation. And I think a lot of you guys probably remember Donald Trump requesting like 10,000 National Guard troops to come down, but yet the mayor of Washington, D.C. declined on that. Muriel Bowser, I think, is the mayor of Washington, D.C. I think it's Muriel Bowser. And then you got Nancy Pelosi getting recorded in like her SUV. She's being driven around, and her daughter was recording her as she actually admitted on camera that she is, in fact, responsible for the January 6th situation. She said that Nancy Pelosi admitted responsibility. Do you guys remember that? Just let me know if you guys remember that, because if not, I'll definitely make sure to share that clip with you guys in a future video.
He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are hashing this out
empower the states to
have
eliminate women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion ban.
Which he's disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him.
You think
he lies all the time.
You think that his pledge that he would not pass a national ban is one that...
It's one that's going to go down with most of the promises that he's made and broken.
Let's talk about this, though, since we're still talking about the transition very quickly to a brand new nominee, apparently, and ticket. There are questions about why the vice president maybe didn't speak up earlier about what she may have seen as the president's decline. The Hill puts it this way in a piece, an opinion piece over there. It says, if all these other figures could see the country was being led by a very unsteady president mentally and physically, wouldn't Harris be able to see that too? In what possible scenario is President Biden's vice president not directly involved in the cover-up? Or perhaps even more embarrassing, was she so detached from the day-to-day activities at the highest level of the administration that she simply hadn't noticed?
Oh, wow. And this is a big point. We're talking about how Kamala Harris's role is so important, how visible it is as the vice president of the United States. But yet, maybe, and this is a theory that I hadn't even considered, maybe Kamala Harris was literally so detached because we never saw her do anything. Have you guys ever seen Kamala Harris like really, make any public appearances, speeches, do anything? Can you list anything? Maybe she was so detached from the White House, from the federal government, that she didn't even notice Joe Biden was declining because she wasn't there. Was she not showing up for work? Comment, guys, let me know, yes or no, because how do you not see this? This is a legitimate these are legitimate questions that are now being presented. And now that she's going for the presidential position, you can damn sure believe she's going to get grilled, and it's starting. They're turning the flames up, guys.
The simple fact is that Joe Biden is good at being president. You can tell by the results that he's getting, results that Donald Trump tried and failed to get, right?
Pete Buttigieg says Pete Buttigieg said Joe Biden was good at being president and he was successful with his policies. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Are you guys hearing this? Do you agree with Pete Buttigieg? This is unbelievable. Like, is he intentionally gaslighting people right now? I'm gonna let y'all hear that again.
The simple fact is that Joe Biden is good at being president. You can tell by the results that he's getting, results that Donald Trump tried and failed to get, right? Trump tried and failed to get the kind of job growth that Joe Biden has presided over.
So he's now giving Joe Biden credit for getting the jobs that came back after the pandemic ended. The whole country was shut down. Like, I have a 2-year-old nephew. Well, he's going to be 2. He's not quite 2 yet. Who could literally have achieved the same kind of job growth as Joe Biden if you simply just reopen the country. So how can you, with a straight face, try to take credit for millions of new jobs created when there were just simply jobs that were already there that had to go away because the country was shut down? So, yes or no, do you give Joe Biden credit for all the jobs he created? Please, guys, let me know. And while you guys are commenting, make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I'm always getting messages from you guys. I really appreciate you guys. You guys always keep me in the loop, sharing news with me and letting me know if you've been unsubscribed. I had a lady email me the other day, Carol. I'm not gonna call it your last name, don't worry. Carol was telling me that she got unsubscribed for the 4th time. She doesn't understand why. Guys, I cannot unsubscribe you. So make sure you're still subscribed. She's like, don't worry, Ron. I keep resubscribing and turning on that notification bell. I appreciate you, Carol. Thank you guys so much for hitting the like button. Happy Sunday. And I got a lot more news to drop on you guys hopefully in the next couple of hours. Anyway, make sure you're subscribed still with notifications, and I'll see you guys on the next